We have a ceasefire and possibly the actual relieving of the stress around the Strait of Hormuz. I say that because one decision on a Tuesday night needs a little time for us to see how the market reacts. So right now, the broad market, the S&P 500, has popped higher because oil dropped lower. But what I want to look at is the Magnificent Seven stocks because they're leading the tech rally, really driven by this ceasefire and what that probably means for trade and how it affects those companies. So we're going to look at price action, market timing, and momentum because I'm HEMA and that's what I do. All right, so we're going to go in alphabetical order here, and we're starting with Apple. Now, Apple has broken above the high that you can see here from March 26, which is good news, and it seems to be continuing to pull up above it after a really nice dip back towards previous support. Now, all of this is still with the RSI Power Zones, my favorite momentum indicator, kind of in the neutral area. So that's about 50 between the 0 and 100 borders. But it looks like there wants to be another continuation higher. So how far could it go? Well, I have some resistance levels labeled here. And the next one is the old low from February 26th. Next up is Amazon, and with the news about the ceasefire and the effects on oil, it has popped higher. Now, we're still in the middle of the trading day following that news, so we have to see where it closes out, but on an intraday basis, it's moved above this March 5th high. So I'm just going to change that to a dashed line. So where's the next resistance it may head to? Well, bigger picture, I would be looking at the range from the January 28th high. Now that's a ways away, so there's definitely going to be potential resistance along the way. For example, this pre-gap low on February 4th, but that's the pathway for Amazon if it wants to make its way back towards its all-time highs from November of last year. All right, here's Meta. It has been recovering higher since March 27th and really, again, popped off post-ceasefire news. Its next resistance level is the high from March 4th. So notice that the highs that have been creating the down moves that led into the recent weakness end up becoming the ranges for the next upside target in the short term. Now that has three levels to it. It has its old low, midpoint, and a high. All right, Microsoft. Now you can see that it is lifting out of a support zone way back from April of 2025. That was the tariffs week. Remember in 2025 when tariffs were the big news, not the Iran war? That's right. And so it came back to the support from specifically the April 7th daily chart range and has turned up higher from there, which is pretty amazing to think that you can uncover support from so long ago and it be useful like a year later, right? Almost exactly a year later. So here we are with this current move higher, and it looks like the room for recovery, if it's able to extend, would be towards the high from March 6th. Now, let me show you something here, right? I'm going to look more closely in Microsoft. You got to be careful because when you have a gap higher that's news driven, you also need to make sure you know where the session lands. So yes, there was an opening gap higher, but right now, as of midday, this candle is red. It could close lower than it opened, and then that weakens the significance of it being a gap higher, right? So make sure you pay attention to where a gap day actually closes for your true signal of the underlying bullish or bearish forces. NVDA is still like the most boring of the Mag 7 with this gigantic range it's been in from September 5th and October 29th. But hey, at least it popped up above this most recent resistance from March 25th, which means it's likely to have a journey back towards a February 25th high if it can continue. Now, this is, like I said, in a larger consolidation range. So ahead of that, you got to watch out for resistance on that March 16th high. And last but not least is Tesla. Now, Tesla's had like the weakest reaction of everything so far in the Mag 7 complex. It opened higher, but has already started to close lower back in towards yesterday's range. So the downtrend in Tesla is still pretty intact, and any recovery gains, I think, would be limited to the April 1st high. Now, where might it head if it actually continues lower? Well, you can see there's a very large trading range that was back on June 5th of 2025. I believe that would be the next range to look at for support, and it is very close to the September 2nd low. So that 325 area first, ahead of the 299 area. So that's my look at Mag 7 stocks amidst all the latest news regarding the Iran conflict. If you found value in the technical analysis, the reminders about gaps and other technical tools, or the market calls themselves, or both, go ahead and hit the like button, and I'll see you in our next video.